Are these not the cutest little drawstring bags? Oh my goodness. Love these. Okay, y'all, let's make them. What you're gonna need for the tiny drawstring bag is one piece of material, non-directional, that's cut 6.5 by 13. One piece, 6.5 by 6.5 square. And then you're going to need two pieces that are 3.5 by 6.5, and two of those. You're also going to need your ribbon or cord for the drawstring pull through. I'm gonna say about, I think I used about 12 inches, give or take, but I'll measure it and we'll find out for sure. All right, let's make it. What you're gonna think about is, first of all, mine is directional. And if it's directional, you're gonna have to cut it, turn one upside down so that when it's back here, it's not upside down. You can't do that with a directional pattern. If it was just like anything like this, you're good to go. But because mine is directional, we have to do a little surgery and put it back together. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna fold this in half. I'm gonna cut it, and then I'm gonna sew it back together so that it works for my project. Yeah, I know, I just whacked it. All right, let's do this. We're gonna do right sides together, and I know that it has to hang upside down, so I'm gonna do that so it looks like it's right sides together both ways. And okay, then I'm just gonna do 1/4 inch seam on this. If yours is non-directional and you just have a fun print, you do not need to cut yours and sew it. You're just gonna use it and keep it all one big piece. I do not have that, so we are gonna make this work. I'm gonna do a little decorative stitch on here. So now, when I put these two together, they are both going in the right direction. This piece is done. If you don't have directional, you don't have to do anything to that piece. You are good to go. All right, on this one, we are going to sew right sides together, one of these across the bottom, and right sides together, one of these across the top. I don't have a directional print for my snowflake material, but if I did, I would want to consider when I flip that over, is it going to be in the right direction? Okay, so you want to think about that. And we're just going to do this at 1/4 inch. And then I like a finished look, so we are going to go ahead, fold our seams down towards the bigger piece of material, press that and stitch across. We have our front and back of our little bag. What we need to do now is on both of these pieces, we're gonna mark down so that we can create like a little bit of a tunnel or a tube for the ribbon that we want to run through here. So we're gonna get our little ruler out and we are gonna measure down. We're gonna go 3/4 inch down. And I'm gonna use chalk because I have it and it's right here. And then from there, I'm gonna go 3/4 inch again, just so I have some wiggle room. Okay. That wasn't the cleanest. And we're gonna do the same thing on this side. So we have sewing room up here for putting this all together, and then we're gonna have the tube for our ribbon to go through. I do recommend that you mark it on the back side too, because you do have to do a little sewing right sides together. What we're gonna do is we're gonna fold this up in half, and we are gonna box out our corners. So we're gonna squeeze this down. Oh man. And you know what I didn't think about is my little puppies are upside down on the back side. Too late. We're going to go forward. This is where it gets tricky. We are going to cut this at 3/4 inch up. Because we're going to use 1/4 inch on this side, I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. So we're going to go 3/4 up from the bottom and 1 1/8 to the side. Okay, we're gonna do the same thing over here, and we are gonna go 3/4 and 1 1/8, and we're gonna, this is so we can box out our corner and the bag stands up just a little bit better. When you go to sew, you're gonna sew at the top, then you're going to skip over your lines. This is why it's important to sew, make your lines on the back, but you also need it on the front, because when we're all done, the final lines you're gonna stitch, you're gonna do it from the inside, not the outside of your material. You'll see as we get going. Okay, so we're gonna start at the top, and we're gonna do a little back stitch. Then when we get to that line, we're gonna back stitch. And then we're gonna raise our needle, press our foot, we're gonna pull that forward and bring that back down. And we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna go and we're gonna back stitch. And then we'll cut out our little boxes here in just a moment. We're gonna do the same thing on this side. Now we're gonna cut those little corners out. All right, so now we're going to open up our seams. We're gonna press those down. You could just do it with your fingers. You could take it over to your ironing board if you would like. What we're gonna do now is where we have our hole, we wanna stitch right here where the line is, down this little side, and then across the bottom. We're basically gonna make a box around that hole so it holds up during all of the pulling of the cord, okay? So we're gonna do that real quick. I'm just gonna start at the bottom. So you can see, we just went around, starting where we drew our lines, made a box around it. We're gonna do that to the other side, and then I'm gonna box out my corners. So just so you know, when you box it out, you're basically just bringing your seams together, and you're going to sew at 1/4 inch. Almost forgot to bring you back with me. Okay, we have this side all done. I boxed out the corners. We have our little open chute thing there. We are good to go. I'm gonna cut off this extra thread. And then what we have to do next is box out the corners on our 13 by 6.5. You're gonna fold that in on itself. We don't have to do the markings on this one. We just need to do them on the outside. It's gonna work inside on this, and we're gonna sew it together using the lines on that one. So I think we're gonna be okay. So I started to box this out. I just boxed it out at the same measurement I did for that, which is 3/4 inch, and then 1 1/8. And then we're boxing it out. I'm gonna go ahead and open up my seams just because the other seams are open, and down the road, it will make it easier to match everything up. Then we're gonna box out our corner. I'm just gonna match up my seams. And we're gonna sew this at 1/4 inch. We have our inside, we have the outside, and we have to do them right sides together. So now what we're gonna do is put these two in here together, and we are gonna line these up. And you might notice that your 13 inches is a little taller. That's fine. I actually like to cut mine a little bit taller so that I get a little bit of a rollover at the top. I just like the way that looks, so we're gonna clip that. And I did not do a seam on this side. I'm gonna do an opening at the top because I want to have it be fully reversible, and you can't do that if you do a side seam. And so I'm gonna do an opening at the top for turning. Basically, we're gonna do stitch. What I'm gonna do first is stitch around the top. I am gonna turn it right side out, and then I'm gonna stitch on the lines that I have drawn on. So I'm gonna do the closing up. We're back, and I went ahead and turned it right side out. I do have my opening over here. I did have enough that even though my edges and points are all matched together down here, I've got a little bit of extra at the top, so I'm just going to make it work for me. That means that this is a little more tricky to close off. That's fine. This one does not have that extra on top. My other one did. Sometimes I just cut it longer or forget to trim it back down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start here. I'm going to make sure that I have enough of that top down in that I can get everything squeezed in, and I'm going to stitch around the top. Then I'm going to come back in and I'm going to stitch over the white chalk line. I'm going to do the top line and then the second one to make my tunnel for the drawstring. We have all of the stitches in, so I just wanted you to see I did a stitch right here at the top. Then I followed my chalk line and I did this stitch. Then I followed my chalk line and I did this stitch. And so we have our opening, and we are going to slide our ribbon through. I'm just going to use a red ribbon. This is 6.5 across. So if I did 7 and 7, 14, I'm just going to make it 15. Maybe I'll go 16 and double that. We'll just see how this works out. I'm thinking 15 would be fine, but we will see. I'm going to go ahead and burn that and just melt that ends. Just melt those a little bit. And then we're going to cut this in half. And we're going to feed it into our little handy dandy tool that is not a safety pin. I hope it fits through these little holes. It looks like this. You pinch it in there, you slide this down, and it goes on tight, and then you just feed this through, and hopefully it fits. Yes, awesome. I've had a couple of times where it didn't fit. I'm sure they make smaller ones, but using what I have, and we will take this through. Yeah, actually, I think that length is going to be great. And then I tie this in a knot and keep it from going through. And then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So you can see you have it like that. You draw your little string. So, yeah. I love these little bags. This is adorable. I'm Cassie. This is 62 Handcrafted. I hope you save this and come sew with me. I'll see y'all soon.